Lots of people are hyper-focused on gear, but they limit their focus to the gun or the accessories that go on the gun. But what about your clothing? Clothing is a critical part of the system. Hey guys, this is Jeff with Tenacor. I'm the founder and designer of Tenacor products. I've been carrying a gun for over 25 years and I have made all the mistakes that you haven't even thought of. During that time, I've spent thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars experimenting with things and trying to figure out what actually works for carrying a gun every day. So our goal here is for me to share with you my experience in the last 25 plus years, spending all the money and time and energy and resources that I have into figuring out this concealment problem and what are the lifestyle changes and clothing changes that I have made so you don't have to go through that same experimentation process. So I started carrying a gun in the late 90s. Clothing then was more baggy than it is today. I started carrying outside the waistband hip carry and have a big shirt or a big hoodie or a vest or something like that over the top of it. And then I went from on the belt carry to inside the waistband hip carry. I was able to wear more normal fitting clothing. During that time, for the first 10 or so years of me carrying a gun, it was this constant process of experimenting with different belts, different holsters, different clothing, trying to find something that was both comfortable and concealable. It wasn't until I switched to appendix carry that my wardrobe choices kind of expanded. The one thing with appendix carry, and really with any carry, is you have to have something that is covering it. But with appendix carry, with a properly designed belt, a properly designed holster, and a gun that is appropriate for concealed carry, you can pretty much wear whatever you want and it's comfortable and it's not going to print. So achieving comfort and concealment is relatively simple, but it is hard. And it's hard because it requires you to actually be committed to carrying a gun every day, which then results in relatively significant lifestyle changes. For some people, concealment isn't really important. They're like, I'm gonna cover my gun, no big deal. People aren't very observant. All of that is true, but some people are observant. My perspective on concealment is such that I don't want people to know, that I don't want the casual observer to know, and I don't want the person who is looking for stuff. So for me, I have made the high-level macro decision that I'm just gonna carry a gun every day. And that over the last 10, 15 plus years has then informed what clothing purchases I've made. And so I don't put any effort really into the problem of solving what clothes am I gonna wear that day, because I've already solved that problem. I've already decided I buy certain types of shirts, I buy certain types of pants, I buy certain types of jackets, and I do that based on the fact that I am committed to carrying a gun every day. And so if you're not committed to carrying a gun every day, you're gonna buy stuff that doesn't work for carrying a gun. And so if you decide you want to carry a gun every day, then you pretty much are deciding you're gonna buy clothing that only works for carrying a gun. So standardizing the gun that you have, the holster you have, and the belt that you have, which are kind of the foundational components to your carry system, is really important. Once you do that, you kind of know what kind of pants, what kind of shorts, what kind of shirt you can buy or wear. And it basically simplifies the entire process. I currently carry a Glock 19 with a Trijicon RMR on it. I do that in a Tenacor Velo 5. On my belt, I carry a Headhunter Blades Rat in a Tenacor sheath. I use the Tenacor Zero belt as the foundation for carrying all of those things. I carry a Streamlight Macro Stream, and then I carry this Benchmade folder. Other than that, I just carry keys, I carry a wallet, and I carry my phone. So let's talk about specific clothing in general. We'll start at the top and kind of work our way down. So undershirts are a thing. I have always lived in northern climates, and so I've always worn an undershirt. And so when I carry a gun, I wear an undershirt. It is more comfortable in general for me, and it helps to protect my body from the gun. So generally, with any clothing, the higher quality clothing, it's gonna be more comfortable and it's gonna feel better and fit better. Find a particular t-shirt or undershirt brand that you like, and then stick with that thing. I have found that the District Made DM130 works really well, and that's actually the shirt that we use to print all of our Tenacor stuff with. Typically, I wear that as my t-shirt or as my undershirt. Let's talk about cover garments. You need to put something over the top of the gun to cover it. Cover garments that are stretchy and knitty, like this one. This is like a polo. This is going to form around the gun and is not going to work very well. A t-shirt is going to be maybe a little better than this because it's not going to be quite as stretchy as this. And a t-shirt is not going to work as well as something that is more like a twill or like a more structured shirt, like one of these guys, like a button-up shirt. These types of things are going to have more structure to them and hang more straight and not be clingy to any weird objects like a gun. Heavier fabrics also work well. So something like a duct fabric like Carhartt will work well, but obviously that's very heavy. A flannel will also work relatively well. The weave is relatively tight, and again, it's heavy fabrics. Things like a sweatshirts work well because they have a relatively tight weave and they hang relatively straight. If it is too stretchy, so something that's knit like a sweater will sometimes cling to a gun, or something that is like a tight athletic type fleece that also is designed to be stretchy, that will also cling and will print. So for me, in the winter, I'm typically gonna wear a hoodie or a button-up shirt of some sort. In the summer, I'm probably gonna wear a short sleeve button-up shirt, or I'm gonna wear a t-shirt. And so if I am looking for the best concealment in the summer, I'm for sure gonna have a short sleeve button-up shirt on. And then in the winter, whether it's a long sleeve shirt or a sweatshirt, either one works really well for concealment. Having some sort of concealment method that allows you to wear normal clothing for the season, I think, is important. So another aspect to concealment is going to be patterns on shirts. So you can have solids like this, and then you can have patterns. So this is like a plaid, or you can have like a Hawaiian style shirt. Some sort of pattern is gonna work better to hide the gun, because if you have the outline of the gun that is printing a little bit, the different contrast in the colors of the pattern helps to break that up. Plaids are gonna be very square because you have lines running one way and perpendicular lines running another way. So they're gonna cover up square things really well, but not rounded things as well. Something like a Hawaiian shirt will cover up both because it is gonna have both straight lines and round lines, and it's gonna have lines going all sorts of different directions. So it does a really good job of breaking up the profile or the silhouette of anything you're trying to conceal underneath. In addition to patterns, a thing to consider is the shade of colors. Like this shirt right here has plaid on it, which is great, but it is relatively light. And so the lighter colors are gonna show the shadows and stuff more, and so they're not gonna work as well for concealment. So something like this, which doesn't have a pattern, but is a relatively dark color, might actually work better than this lighter colored plaid shirt for breaking up the profile. And then ultimately something that is a darker profile, so like this plaid shirt that has some black in it, or this plaid shirt that has some darker blue in it and some gray and some black, this is gonna work really well for breaking up the profile of the gun because it is both dark and it also has patterns. Another consideration for tops is gonna be jackets. When I wake up in the morning, I get dressed, I put the gun on, the gun comes off when I'm going to bed. It's not a thing that I just put on to go to the store. If you are a part-time gun carrier, then I guess you can get away with, I'm gonna put the gun on to leave the house and put my jacket on, but now you're committed to always having that jacket on because otherwise your gun isn't concealed. Those are different lifestyle choices that you need to make. You need to decide what kind of gun carrier you are. Are you a full-time gun carrier or a part-time gun carrier? If you're a full-time gun carrier, there is more work to be done up front, but once you've switched your life over to that, it's super easy to do it. If you're a part-time gun carrier, you're constantly problem solving stuff throughout the day of, oh, what am I wearing here? What am I wearing there? Oh, now I'm in a situation that I'm inside for the next 2 hours and I have my puffy coat on and I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I'm uncomfortable, right? And then you end up in weird situations. If you're gonna carry a gun, in my opinion, I think the right thing to do, be a full-time gun carrier, and it'll make your life much easier. So I got a vest here, and that works okay, but it's still a vest, right? So if it's super hot out and this is the only thing that's concealing you, it's gonna be pretty warm. So that's not gonna work very well. You have some type of like puffy coat or something like this, but again, you're probably gonna wanna take your coat off at some point during the day, so you can't just solely rely on your coat as your only means of concealment. One of the considerations that I think of for most of my jackets is I want a double zipper. So I want a top zipper, I also want a bottom zipper. And I want the bottom zipper because I need to be able to unzip this enough that I can access the gun. If I don't have enough stretch, either in this or in this, to get to the gun, it can all bind up. The whole purpose of wearing a jacket is you might go outside, right? And so the idea that you're just gonna leave your raincoat unzipped in the rain so you can get to your gun, to me seems kind of silly, but I still might need to get to my gun. That's why I'm carrying a gun. And so buying a jacket that has double zippers, both zipping to the top and then also zipping from the bottom so you can break that up is important. Another aspect that is important is ensuring there's not too many things hanging around the hem, like particularly where the gun is, because they're gonna get caught inside of the holster and or with the gun, and then you're gonna have a negligent discharge. So an important aspect of your clothing and of your gear carrying setup is going to be your belt, because it is the thing that basically holds everything up. And there are lots of great belts out there for different things. I don't like belts that are overly complex, so I like belts that are simple, things like the ratchet belt. There's just lots going on there. Belts that don't have micro adjustment are also a challenge. This is a pretty thick gun belt. This is a Magpul Tejas belt. This is a great belt that works really well, but from my standpoint, a belt like this is thicker and more rigid than what I want to use for concealed carry, but it is for a specific purpose, and it doesn't really allow me to carry on the regular in the same way that I do with my Tenacor belt. Here's another belt that is a leather belt. This belt is pretty much just a fashion belt though, and so it's just really flimsy. It doesn't have much rigidity and is not gonna work very well for carrying a gun. So this is the type of belt that most people have, and then when people go buy a gun, they hear they need to get a gun belt, so they go get something rigid and stiff like this. The reality is what probably most people need is something is in between, that it is stiff enough in a lateral direction that it'll support the weight, but it is very flexible and it'll maintain comfort. And so some sort of nylon belt. I like our Zero belt, and I like our Zero belt because it has removed all of the unnecessary things, and you only have left what you need, which is this tiny little low profile buckle, this backwards weird way of threading it all, and a relatively low profile, comfortable way of carrying all your stuff. An important part of belts isn't just how they're designed, but you gotta use them right. And so if your belt is on, it's too loose, everything is gonna be drapey and falling away. The tighter the belt, the more comfortable the gun will be and the more concealable the gun will be. However, you could tighten the belt so tight that the belt is uncomfortable. So you want to find that balance of tightening as much as you can for comfort and concealability of the gun without compromising comfort of the belt. So moving on to pants, it was very common, or still is common, for people to recommend to size up. You're taking this big, huge thing and sticking it in your pants, and they're like, you need an extra inch or two of waist circumference. I think that is a terrible idea. So back in the day, in the late 90s, 2000s, I did that, or I experimented with that. And basically what happens is, in order to get your waistline to fit better, you're making every other part of your pant not fit. It's not just the waist that is scaled, it's the hips, it's the legs, it's the knees, it's the cuffs. Everything is scaled up. And if your body fits best with a certain size of pant, scaling up is gonna make everything else not fit. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, elastic wasn't really a thing that was integrated into different clothing types like it is today. And so most clothing, like most jeans and most other things today, have some sort of elastic in them, and there's some stretch to it. And so because there's some stretch, just buy the regular pants that you have. Your waistline will stretch. Like your fleshy fat tummy, like my fat tummy, is gonna push in a little bit, and then the waistline is gonna stretch a little bit, and you don't need to compensate for the additional girth inside the waist. I think that is a bad idea and completely unnecessary. So with pants, the pants need to have enough structure to support the gun and support the belt and support the clips. If it doesn't have enough structure, then it's gonna be really flimsy and floppy, and the gun is gonna move around a bunch. Most jeans are probably around the right sweet spot where there is enough structure in the jeans, but they're not too thick. If you get really heavy work pants, sometimes then it is really awkward to carry a gun, or if you get really lightweight pants, so like sweats or joggers, or like some sort of really lightweight nylon pant, generally the gun is not gonna carry as well for those sorts of things. Belt loop location is another consideration. So if the belt loops are too close to center line, or they're too wide or too big, they're gonna interfere with your belt clips on your holster. So it's better to have belt loops that are a little further out towards your hip point, so they're not interfering with the belt clips, or to make sure you have a holster that has some variety of where the belt clips can be placed, so you can maneuver them around the pant loops. Some pants are gonna have things like ties or adjustment around the waistline. If the tie or adjustment is in the same spot as you're carrying the gun, that's a problem. So you're going to remove it or put it in a different spot if you can. Sweatpants and workout shorts, things like that, are pretty popular today, and they are comfortable and it works out great. That being said, it does not work well for carrying a gun. The gun is heavy. The lightness and the stretch of workout clothing like joggers or sweatpants or shorts or whatever do not work well for carrying a gun. And so you certainly can do it, but it is a compromise in concealment. Typically I wear 511 Defender Flex jeans. They just look like normal jeans. They don't look like tactical jeans or tactical pants. What I like about them is that they are stretchy, and then they also have the hip pockets. And so I find the hip pockets to be kind of the magic pocket. So this may sound like a lot, and that's because it is. But what you need to do first is ask the question, are you committed to carrying a gun every day? If you're committed to carrying a gun every day, then you're going to make the lifestyle changes necessary that are consistent with that. You're gonna decide what gun are you gonna carry, what holster you're gonna carry, what belt are you gonna use, and then what other clothing do you need to wear, or do you need to buy, or do you need to get rid of that supports that decision. Not these guys again. We've all seen something like this before. Guys who don't understand how to dress to conceal their gun the right way. So here we are once again. It's another day at the station, another case, and another scared victim trying to give their statement. Who did it this time?
None of them was the man I saw carrying a gun.
Bring in the last guy. So concealment is not just about clothing, it's also about positions of the gun and features on the gun. So check them out here and here.